Welcome to the Fulcrum Point, the podcast that's all about the growing influence of Catholic education in Western Washington and how it's inspiring and helping students, teachers, and our entire community. This show is brought to you by the Fulcrum Foundation, and I'm your host, Brian Callanan. Our program this month is taking a closer look at a day in the life of a pre-K through 8th grade Catholic school, with the spotlight on St. Alphonsus School in Seattle's Ballard neighborhood. Go Angels! St. Alphonsus was founded back in 1907. It's one of the oldest Catholic schools in Seattle, but it's exploding with youthful energy, a lot of fun, and a lot of new ideas about the best ways to educate our kids. We're going to talk with the principal of St. Alphonsus, who has a special magic trick for getting students organized that, well, I don't want to give it away just yet. Plus, we're going to talk about the growing need for high-quality preschools here in Western Washington, a need reflected in so many other parts of the country. We'll be learning how St. Alphonsus is responding to that need with a little boost from the Fulcrum Foundation, and why are kids so excited about math at St. Alphonsus. That equation might not be as complicated as you think. All this and a whole lot more as we get a closer look at what really makes a Catholic school tick. There's plenty to think about, plenty to smile about coming up here on the Fulcrum Point.
Every child deserves access to a great education, no matter their background or family income. The Fulcrum Foundation makes that possible by providing tuition assistance and funding to strengthen Catholic schools across Western Washington. Your support helps students dream bigger and build brighter futures. Join us in turning potential into opportunity. Visit fulcrumfoundation.org to learn more or to make a charitable gift today.
I'm joined by Nick Paternos, who is principal of St. Alphonsus School here in Ballard. Nick, thank you very much for having us.
Thanks, Brian. Glad to be here.
All right, here we go. You've been principal since 2021 here, as I understand it, at a school that has been around for more than a century. And I'm just really struck in learning about St. Alphonsus that the years of tradition clearly are very important here. But there's this drive to try new things, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and really try things that people wouldn't normally associate maybe with a Catholic school. It feels like you're all about that. Can you describe your overall approach to education?
Well, like you said, we've been here in Ballard for a long time, and sometimes people forget that we're tucked away behind this church along 15th Avenue, which is super busy. But you're totally right. There is fresh, exciting things happening at our school. And one of the things I'm always asked when I tell people that I'm a principal, number one, they're like, wow, you are like way too young to be a principal. And I get that. And last year I was giving a tour to a family, and it took them about halfway through the tour to realize that I wasn't in 8th grade.
That's great.
But no, what we try and do here is really just empower teachers to have fun, meet the kids where they're at. There's a great thing that we do at the start of every school year, and this is sorting our students into houses. So we have a house system here at St. Alphonsus.
Can I jump in here? Because this is very exciting. And I have to tell you, actually, Nick sent me some video of this and some audio as well. This is for middle schoolers, a bit of a ritual. It's got a kind of a Harry Potter flavor to it, if I may. A hat is placed on the student sitting in the middle of the gym. I want to play a clip involving one of your students by the name of Seraphim.
Seraphim, hello. How I do love that name of yours. Like the angels, they say. You take on great responsibility as the oldest sister. You help everyone around you soar. Welcome to the Badano House.
I love this, and it sounds like your kids do too. Tell me why you set up this house system at St. Al's. What's this all about?
Well, middle school is tough, if you remember middle school.
I try to forget it, but yes.
But what we want to do is create belonging, healthy competition, camaraderie. So we have house games. Kids earn house points for living out just virtuous behavior, which we really want to celebrate and reward. So just last month, to foster that spirit of camaraderie, we had Catholic Quiz Bowl competition.
Oh, okay.
Coupled with dodgeball. Highly officiated.
Okay.
But there's also other things that we're just looking for kids to do during the school day to reward them, again, for that virtuous behavior. So we have 3 C's at St. Al's: courage, courtesy, and contemplation. So if a kid raises their hand and they ask this awesome question in class, that might be house points. Or if they see someone who they need a lunch buddy sits next to them unasked, that's house points. So it's just a way of building a culture of belonging and acceptance here at St. Al's.
Oh, it's amazing. It sounds like a lot of fun for these kids, too. You also have a program that I sure wish was happening at my kids' school when they were going through. It has to do with mobile phones, and it's called Wait Until 8th. I thought that sorting hat thing was magic, but what manner of sorcery is this that you're able to keep a cell phone away from a kid until 8th grade? What's going on with this, Nick?
Well, parents, I think they have one of the hardest jobs today of any time in history. And we want to just make that a little bit easier and give them an opportunity to stand shoulder to shoulder with each other and say, you know what, we don't have to give our kid a smart device until they're in high school. So about 60% of our parents actually say yes, and they sign a pledge voluntarily. It's anonymous, but once you get a critical mass, it becomes public of who's signed up. And so they know that they don't have to be the bad cop, bad parent, and everyone else is doing it together.
The uncool parent.
The uncool parent, exactly. And really, kids aren't even bothered by it either. I think it's actually freeing to them, where they come in at the beginning of the day, they put their phone in the box, they don't have to think about it, and they get it at the end of the day. And most of these families who've signed up for this, they're in our younger grades. And I think we're going to see just the culture start to change as these younger kids just grow up without smart devices in their hands.
And I know I've talked to so many different parents about this with smart devices. I have an idea about why I would want to keep that away from kids at a younger age. But can you get to that point of why? Why do you want to have a program like this?
Well, we want kids to be younger longer. And I think St. Alphonsus helps protect that innocence, but while doing so, gives them tools to think critically, creatively, without something buzzing in their pocket. And I think that can be a major distraction. And we just focus on really what matters here. And it's those reading, writing, arithmetic, which is earth-shattering if you think about it today.
Yeah. And it's interesting to me that it's a double-pronged approach. Yeah, there's this pressure on the kids, I imagine, with friends, whatever, having the phones, but that pressure on the parents, you don't hear about that part as much. And I think that's an interesting way of looking at this, really involving the parents with this, because they're the ones buying the phones and getting on the plan with these kids, et cetera. Talking to them about this sounds like a really important part of this equation.
We had to do a lot of parent education. Jonathan Haidt wrote his book, The Anxious Generation, a few years ago, and we could see it. The anxiety, the depression, the eating disorders. It's not like this program has magically made any of those things go away. But to be able to name it and, again, to stand with those parents, be like, we see you, we want to help you. And I think parents have just been really grateful for the support on the school's end.
I hear you. I want to talk about your teachers here at St. Alphonsus. They're the wings behind the angels, I think you'd have to say here. There's a new program going on here to help them when it comes to housing. Newsflash, everybody, Seattle's a very expensive place to live. But with a boost from the Fulcrum Foundation, St. Al's has been able to repurpose an old convent that is on the campus here. The Sisters of the Society of Our Lady of the Most Holy Trinity, pray for us, left this facility in 2021. Now it's housing for teachers. And Nick, as I understand it, you actually lived in a similar facility during one of your earlier teaching jobs. And it seems to me that there's more to this than making sure there's some affordable housing available for teachers. That's critical, of course, but there's also this idea of trying to provide some community and support for these teachers too. Can you talk about this and this housing, why it's so important?
Well, I think teaching can be one of the most isolating professions. You might be teaching next to another teacher. You've got a brick wall that divides you, but you might feel miles and miles apart. And that's amplified, especially early in your career as a young teacher. And what we saw was like, how are we going to build a pipeline of excellent teachers who can actually afford to live close to where they work? And with the vacant convent, it presented a really great opportunity for us to check a few boxes. Excellent teachers, living community, and living out a spirituality as well. So that's precisely what we do. It's not just St. Al's teachers. You know, the Fulcrum Foundation has allowed us to open it up so we're serving schools and teachers all across the Archdiocese.
How many teachers are being served?
I think we have 6 teachers in the convent right now.
Yeah.
One of them teaches at St. Alphonsus. We like to joke that he has the longest commute in all of Seattle under a covered walkway. But yeah, the house really, it draws those young teachers together where they can process what they're doing that first year of teaching, which can be traumatic at times. Share a meal together. There's a chapel inside the convent, so they're able to have a center of prayer as well. I was just there a couple weeks ago, and they had a young adult night. I felt old because I think I was probably the oldest person there.
There you go.
But there were 30 young people there, and it's just inspiring to see how the church is moving in that way.
That's great. And I think you're right about that pressure on teachers. I've seen a few studies that show it's something like 44% of all teachers nationwide quit within their first 5 years of teaching. Can you talk to me about maybe your experience when you were a young teacher? You had a communal place to live like this, and it sounds like it was really formative for you.
I lived in a former convent as well. There were 8 of us, cramped quarters. We shared bedrooms sometimes, even shared meals together. But I think that's what helped me stay in the teaching profession. It was, again, able to process the highs and lows. And when you see the graces that other people are experiencing and you realize, wow, this is such a gift to be in this space with students and families. So I think it really sustains the mission of Catholic education.
I hear you loud and clear. What a great story there. I also wanted to talk about an innovative way of involving parents and community members here at St. Alphonsus. Can you talk about the enrichment courses that you have here on Fridays? It sounds like a really special part of this school.
Yeah, so every Friday afternoon, we have about a 2-hour block for middle schoolers because no one wants to do like math and science necessarily in that Friday afternoon period. We trick them because they're actually doing a lot of math and science.
Love it, love it.
So we also have parents and community members come in and run some of these enrichment classes. So they rotate through each trimester, but we have things like computer programming, hands-on science, and then parents will do things like beekeeping or great architecture and buildings or short story writing. And it gives students the opportunity to see the gifts of the parents that they bring in. We have a parishioner who helps do iconography here as well. Any of these things that help spark that innate curiosity that kids have and for a sustained period of time.
Yeah.
It's been really great.
Yeah, some good energy from the kids and from these community members too, it sounds like, bringing those both together.
They feed off of each other, especially for this parishioner in particular and these parents, really to be able to know that they're sharing something that's really important to them. So it builds up the community in a rich way.
Oh, that's great. I also wanted to make sure I talked about something. I need to start wrapping up with you, but I can't let this go. The Virtue of the Month program you have here at St. Alphonsus. St. Alphonsus is known, folks, if you weren't aware, the patron saint of moral theologians, so I think this makes sense. He's also the patron saint of those who suffer from arthritis. So a quick sidebar on that. If you need to loosen up, grab a glucosamine and give a prayer to St. Al. But back on what we're talking with Virtue here. Talk about the Virtue of the Month, if you could, what you're trying to get across to students and families.
Yeah, virtues are just daily habits that we have to practice over and over again. And we're not going to get it overnight. So we tell families that, hey, we're going to walk with your kid through an entire school year in inculcating these virtues. And once you do them over and over again, it becomes a strength. Virtue means strength. And then a student of the month or student of the week is someone who's lived out that virtue. So it happens to be the virtue of reverence this month. And every Thursday, we read out the nominations that teachers write of kids being caught living this virtue. So a preschooler, elementary schooler, and a middle schooler are nominated. And again, it just builds up this culture of, yeah, I want to be caught living out that virtue.
And so teachers are keeping an eye on all these students and making sure they're coming together like that.
Totally.
That's incredible. Just to wrap up here finally, I just wanted to talk about what drives you to do this job. This is a job that's very important to you, and I can hear your heart kind of pouring out when you talk about this here. Tell me about your connection to the school and why you do what you do, Nick.
Oh, gosh. This is my 5th year here at St. Alphonsus, and I initially was a 5th grade teacher. I moved on to high school, but I knew I wanted to come back to a setting that involved families. We have so many committed families here at St. Alphonsus, and as someone who has a young family myself, I see myself fully invested in this community. These are parents who I call friends, students who I'm going to see walk through this building from preschool on through 8th grade. And we're just trying to stoke the love of Christ. And that is something that is going to be a lifelong journey for them, but it feels so rewarding to be able to kind of plant those seeds of faith and for these kids to build each other up. And when you see it, it makes it all worth it.
Wow. And we're talking about a lot of virtues here. I know patience is a virtue too, but I hate to say we're out of time. We have a few other people to talk to here, but this is Principal Nick Padrinos. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you, Brian.
Coming up, we're going to go back to preschool with a lead teacher seeing this program really start to expand. How is St. Alphonsus rising to that challenge? We're going to learn more coming up on The Fulcrum Point.
Hi, my name is Stella, and I'm in 8th grade at St. Alphonsus and am Badano's house captain. I like how friendly and inclusive the community is at St. Alphonsus. Whether you're talking to a parent, teacher, or student, St. Alphonsus carries a special aura of welcomeness and respect. As a student, this makes me feel valued and recognized.
Welcome back to the Fulcrum Point. So glad to be with preschool teacher Carissa Person here at St. Alphonsus School in Ballard. Carissa, how are you?
I'm great. I am happy to be here.
I love it. That's the way a preschool teacher should be. St. Al's just opened a third preschool classroom this year, as I understand it, a half-day room. You're the lead teacher.
Yes.
This is in addition to the 2 other licensed full-day preschool classrooms you have. And I want to talk about licensing in a minute. But what I'm seeing here overall is there is a huge demand for quality preschool around this area here. Your principal was telling me there are 44 kids enrolled in preschool right now at St. Alphonsus. That's about 25% of your school population. There's a real need for this. Are you seeing that?
Absolutely. I think that preschool is the foundation for getting children to love school. And at St. Alphonsus, we do an excellent job of encouraging that lifelong love of learning. And I have been so excited. I got hired here to create this new half-day program. It's been my baby. I'm so proud of it. And I'm so proud of everything I'm seeing at St. Alphonsus. I grew up in a very small town with school that is very similar to this, very small class sizes. So this feels like home. And the thing that's beautiful about Catholic education, different from public schools or other schools, is that every child here has purpose. And in a small school, every kid. I'm a half-day preschool teacher, yet somehow I've managed to learn almost all the names of the kids in other classes, 3rd grade, 8th grade, 5th grade, because we are a small school. And we can see people and meet them where they're at and just have that great camaraderie and understanding that we are small, but we're mighty. And every child has purpose. Every child at the school is meant to be here. And I feel that every teacher knows the value of that student as well as their families. And as the new teacher, or I guess the teacher for these new parents coming in,
right.
Preschool teachers have an awesome responsibility for our students and parents, but also to the school to set, like I said, that foundation of love, but to really set also how beautiful this community is. And I feel that our preschool program does a great job with that. And I feel lucky to be a part of it.
Yeah, and I know there's connections within the school. The preschoolers will hang out with the older grades. They'll go to Mass together, things of that nature. It's great to see that. I did want to talk about what happens next year. I think the hope is to make what you're doing another full-day program. Would that be something down the line here? I know there's a lot going on with accreditation that has to happen there.
Yeah.
The Fulcrum Foundation, I know, helps out with the early childhood education grants. Can you talk to me about that process? Because I got to say, it sounds like your work is a lot more than chasing after preschool kids. You're doing a lot of work in the background here, too.
Absolutely. We're getting this room ready to be licensed. It's been really fun to set it up and get it going, moving in the right direction moving it towards a full day situation.
Yeah,
just
so
like the other
the
classes.
state has to say this looks good.
Absolutely,
okay.
yes. And we've been so lucky, like we got new flooring, which we're so thankful for. And the room, it's just, if you have a chance to go down and check out my room, you should, because it's absolutely stunning.
Okay. Yeah. When's the cracker and juice break? I'll be down for that.
Yeah,
for
come
sure.
down.
For sure. Hey, can you talk to me about just the kind of a day in the life for a preschool teacher like yourself?
Yeah.
What is it like?
For one, like even when I just walk in my room and turn on the lights, I feel joy. And it feels so good to go to a job that you love so much. I mean, my greatest joys are being a mama, a preschool teacher, and a wife. Maybe those are different order, but it's such a joy. But I just love, like, we learn by doing. So a couple of weeks ago, we were doing nature walk. We learned all about nature and leaves and the weather changing. And we took a walk. I don't know if you've had a chance to walk around, but we have beautiful facilities.
Mm-hmm.
We are in the heart of Ballard and we are in 15th, and it is busy, but we also have these beautiful trees. So we did a scavenger hunt, but it was also, our letter of the week was letter E. So while we're out doing our scavenger hunt, the kids and I found sticks. And when we came inside, we got to create the letter E with sticks. And so it's bringing everything full circle, that like we are learning about outside. We're doing our scavenger hunt, but we're also learning about letters, and we're learning about how out in the world we can see letters within our environment. It's so fun to have it all come together. And when kids like connect it all, it's such an amazing feeling.
I will ask, what's the most surprising part of your job? Maybe something that parents out there might not know about what it's like for you and what the kids are like for you in the classroom setting.
The surprising part is that I learned just as much from these students as they learned from me.
You're talking about 3, 4, and 5-year-olds here. Is
Absolutely,
that right? Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I have three-year-olds and moving up into 4. So my age group is around 3, 4. And I learn so much from them every day, watching them interact with each other. Their patience. I mean, not only are we teaching them virtues, but they are teaching me virtues. We work as a class together, and sometimes they remind me, oh, Miss Carissa, you weren't very patient. And I think, oh, thank you for pointing that out. And
yeah.
we can learn from them just as much as they're learning from us.
That's amazing. And in terms of that every day, are you in at 6 in the morning? I mean, what is that day like for you? Because it's more than a half day. I know that in terms of the time you're here and the work you're doing.
It's true. My husband's you're always doing stuff at home. You wake up at night and you're like working on stuff. I have my own children. I get them out the door and then I head over here and I just love it. Like I always know what I'm doing for the day, but sometimes I'm sure you've heard of emergent learning and emergent teaching. And sometimes the day will take us in a different direction than what my lesson plans were.
But describe what that is, your understanding of it.
So let's say my day was maybe we were planning on doing pumpkin painting or something, but while we were cleaning the pumpkin, we saw a bug on it. How exciting is that? So we take the bug and then we're learning all about that bug and how it got on that pumpkin and how it made it all the way from the pumpkin patch in the truck. Like, what could that adventure have been with that bug? What did he feel in that truck? How did it get from the truck to the wagon into our classroom? And then it takes on a bigger thing. And then what kind of bug is it? And that is emergent learning and teaching, that we focus on the bug instead of cleaning the pumpkin at that time.
Is there a word with the letter E that we could use to describe?
Maybe we could find some way to involve that too. But
I love it. I love it. I wanted to make sure I ask this question as we start to wrap up here. Where do you see St. Al's preschool program growing from here? Clearly, there's a demand for it. Clearly, this is helping bring more K through 8 students into the school itself, into the older grades. How do you see this program growing in the future?
How many more rooms can we fill with preschool kids?
Probably a lot.
I think we could. I just see it getting bigger and bigger because, for one, our preschool team is so great. We work well together. I'm always having conversations with the other 2 preschool teachers. We try to make sure that our curriculum is somewhat aligned because we want to be a cohesive school and show like what we're doing is all encompassing. I just feel like the sky's the limit. We're nurturing these children, but we're also nurturing family and we're nurturing community. I mean, we have this amazing trunk or treat coming up. I have 2 adult grown children who are super excited to come and do it. Like, I'm a teacher here. I don't even have students at this school, but my whole family is already involved. They actually helped me set up my whole classroom. My 18-year-old son moved furniture in. My husband was painting. My daughter was writing stuff for me. Like, I include my whole family in my life, and I see the families here include themselves in their children's lives. It's very inspiring. I love it here. I'm so happy.
Absolutely. Carissa Person, one of the many superstars here at St. Alphonsus School in Ballard. Thanks very much for talking with me.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right, well, coming up, how has a middle school math teacher made math cool again? And when I say cool, I mean she's putting it on ice. That's right, lace up your skates. We're talking with a former Division I hockey team captain, helping kids reach their goals in more ways than one. That's next on the Fulcrum Point.
Hi, this is Melissa Rodriguez Murphy, and I'm the Director of Admissions at St. Alphonsus School, a preschool through 8th grade Catholic school in the heart of Ballard. At St. Al's, we partner with parents to help our students grow in knowledge and virtue. We provide a small batch education with big opportunities. With small class sizes, students can participate in everything from drama, accelerated math, foreign language, robotics, and even beekeeping. Additionally, our 7th and 8th grade students attend single-gender classes, boosting both their confidence and belonging. Visit our website to schedule a personal tour or RSVP for an open house. Let's fly with the angels.
And we're back on the Fulcrum Point with Emma Min, 6th and 8th grade math teacher here at St. Alphonsus in Ballard, the girls' 5th and 6th homeroom teacher too. Emma, your path to this job is an interesting one. You were born in London, Ontario, just a little bit north of here. You were the captain of the women's hockey team at Holy Cross in Massachusetts. Go Crusaders. How did you end up skating out to Seattle?
Well, during my time at Holy Cross, I did a ton of tutoring, math and science. I coached for years and years, kids around the middle school age. And then at Holy Cross, despite being a biology major, I actually studied Latin during my time there. And so I had a really cool opportunity to go to a local elementary school and teach middle school Latin once a week. And so I just really fell in love with teaching. I think the middle school age is so great because they're so curious, they're so eager. And I just really felt like something I could see myself doing.
Oh, it's awesome that you made your way out here. And I did want to talk about bringing your past experience with hockey into the classroom because it sounds like it's happening. I heard you actually took some students up to the Seattle Kraken's Iceplex in North Seattle for a STEM lesson of some sort. First, what was that lesson all about? And second, how can I get in on that action? Because it sounds really cool. What's that all about?
Yeah, so it's actually coming up in December.
Oh, okay.
But I have it all planned out. And so I'm taking the students to the Kraken complex, and they're going to have a chance to go ice skating and try hockey. And then we're going to do a lesson about puck friction and calculating the speed of the puck, accounting for friction and things like that. I'm really looking forward to that opportunity. I think it'll be a really great chance for them to see math out in the real world, which I'm really excited for.
Do you think any of them have the skills? Have you sussed it out? Or any of the kids playing youth hockey at all? Or what are you up for here?
Well, it doesn't seem like a ton of them are playing hockey right now, but I think a lot of them are showing interest in getting into it. I think hockey on the West Coast isn't as big as the East Coast, but it's definitely growing with the Kraken out here now. So we'll see. Fingers crossed.
You were more of a defensive player, as I understand it. Led the league in shots blocked. You're throwing yourself in front of the puck half the time, Emma. What was that all about?
I was definitely more of a defensive player. I just wanted to do whatever I could to help my team win. And if that meant stepping in front of a few pucks, then I was happy to do that.
I'm sure that didn't tickle, but it's part of, I think it's part of what you're doing here too, really giving yourself up for the kids. That's very cool. I did want to talk about something else very interesting going on here at St. Alphonsus, an interesting approach to the core curriculum classes for 7th and 8th graders. For math, science, and humanities, it's a single-sex classroom. They still have co-ed social activities, of course, but the classes are separated in this way, have been for 20-plus years. Why is the school doing that? Why is that important?
Teaching single-sex classes has been a really unique opportunity. I think it's really allowed me to tailor my approach to how students learn best in these environments. And I think I've noticed just a really great sense of camaraderie among these classes being separated by sex. And I think the biggest thing, too, I've seen is just that students are willing to take bigger academic risks. And that's something that I really encourage in my classroom, just taking risks, not being afraid to put yourself out there and being okay with making mistakes. And I think this single-sex format really sets students up to be able to do just that.
And breaking down some stereotypes, too, because I think maybe some girls, you don't need to be academically competitive in the same way, or boys, you don't need to be collaborative, do it on your own. I'm just thinking, again, about stereotypes there. I feel like this is a way to break those stereotypes down in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And we definitely see that at St. Al's. The girls aren't afraid to take those risks and build the confidence in STEM, same as the boys.
What was that journey like for you, being a STEM student as a young girl and growing up as you did? I imagine you had a number of challenges with that, but can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember growing up and being nervous to raise my hand in a class of eager boys that were always the first to jump out and answer.
And then that big problem with cooties too. I mean, I'm putting that right over there. Keep going, please.
Yeah, exactly. No, so I think that what this school is doing with those single-sex classes is just so great, remembering how I felt at that middle school age. And so I just think this is really allowing them to build that confidence starting from middle school, which they'll carry for the rest of their lives.
And it sounds like the data is really bearing this out. When kids are in these single-sex classrooms like this, test scores are looking pretty good from what I've seen. Are you noticing that too?
Yeah, absolutely. The kids are doing amazing. We just had our map testing and they crushed it, which was awesome.
Nice job, Teach. I did want to make sure I got back to this point. The hockey lesson sounds like it's going to be epic. That's very cool. But how do you keep math fun for students and engaging from day to day? It's a never-ending question for teachers, I know. What's your approach to that, Emma?
I think that middle school students thrive on energy and relevance. So I'm always trying to make real-world applications with the math that we're doing in class, which I think they get really excited about. I want to get them up and moving around as much as possible. Pretty much every day, they're up at the whiteboards, doing problems together or independently. We do lots of different competitions and things. Just this morning, the 6th graders were doing math trivia. And next week, I have some Math Jeopardy planned for the 8th graders. So just finding ways to make it fun and interactive and engaging is my goal. I don't think that math should just be me standing at the board, writing problems down and talking to them. I think it should be engaging and interactive, and they should have a chance to do it for themselves.
All right. And what are the kids like today that you're engaging with? You were in school as a middle schooler not too long ago, if I may, and I just wanted to ask, what are these students like that you're working with right now?
The students at St. Al's are really special. There's just, like I mentioned, such a great sense of camaraderie among them, and they're so curious and eager to learn, and they're just excited to be here. They ask the best questions. I love how curious they are at this age. It's really funny, some of the questions I get, but they're just excited to be here. They're happy to learn, and they're just really, really great kids.
Anything you can share in terms of those questions, or is it too hot for the podcast? What do we got?
I have some experience doing marine biology at Holy Cross.
Yes.
And so once the students found out about that, they want to know all about what I was doing. They want to ask about all these different marine animals. Even in math lessons, the we're talking about real world applications, and then the conversation will lead to something else and they'll have questions about that. And it's just, I really encourage them to just keep asking questions and stay curious, because I think that's just the best way to learn.
You'll be bringing Orca into the class in no time, I'm sure. That's Emma Min, math teacher, former D1 hockey captain. And Emma, I know you were a defender when you played, but she shoots, she scores. So cool talking to you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
And thanks to everybody listening to this episode of the Fulcrum Point, where we're talking about so many cool stories involving Catholic schools across Western Washington. Download this podcast, share it with your friends, and please subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen. This show is brought to you by the Fulcrum Foundation. You can learn more about their work at fulcrumfoundation.org. I'm Brian Callanan. It has been my pleasure to listen with you and learn. See you next time.